Hi, Adrienne from Happy Hour Projects here, and today I'm going to show you one of my favorite crafts to make as a kid, wish bracelets. As long as you know how to braid, all you need is hemp and seed beads to make these wish bracelets. And the story behind them is this: when you tie them on your wrist, you make a wish. And when the cords wear through, your beads fall off and your wish is supposed to come true. Come on, I'll show you how. Alright, now let's get started. I pre-cut my hemp. This is just standard hemp that you can find really at any craft store or at the dollar store. I pre-cut mine to 15 inches. That's a length that works really well for me. You can go a little bit longer, especially if you want to make an ankle size bracelet. You want to probably go for more like somewhere between 20 and 24 inches. You can kind of adjust the pattern as you go. But for bracelet size, this is a nice easy project because all it takes is braiding. And it takes hemp and seed beads, so it's inexpensive, it's quick, it's easy. So this is a perfect craft for everybody. We're going to start out with an overhand knot here at the top. This is going to be your tail ends that you're going to tie on, so you want them to be a little bit on the long side. Usually aim for about 2 inches or so, just to make sure that there's plenty of length. Tighten these up. Make sure that there's plenty of length left for tying it onto a wrist. Now I like to work, I just clip this right to my clipboard. And then all we do from here is just braid. So as I'm braiding, just normal, pulling it in from each side, the right and the left side, and pulling it to the center, just braid down for about 2.5 inches. And again, you can adjust this if you are. This is going to make about a 7-inch bracelet if we start with 2.5 inches. If you're making an ankle size bracelet, you want to go at least 3.5 inches, possibly 4, before you start adding your beads. And you can measure it if you need to. Definitely bring a ruler if you need to. I make these quite often, so I don't need to. I can just eyeball it. I know when I need to get to the bead part. And now is when we're going to start adding beads. And this is a pretty easy process. Before we get started, I just want to real quick mention the beads that I'm using are size 6 though. Those are just like it's a standard large seed bead. The smaller the number on the seed beads, the larger the holes are going to be. And if you are buying something a higher quality, if you're buying something from the craft store versus say the dollar store, you're probably going to find that there's more uniformity in the holes. So there is definitely an advantage to doing it that way. Another thing is, if you find that your hemp is unraveling as you're working, then you can always use just a dab of craft glue, just regular Elmer's glue is fine to hold those ends together. Just kind of twirl them together so that they don't come undone. That's all you need to do to keep it from unraveling as you work. I add 7 beads, so what we do, here's what we've got. I've got my 3 strands going on here, and I'm going to pull from the right hand side. Now you can pull from the left if you'd rather. I just happen to be right-handed, it's easier for me. And I thread a bead onto this right strand. I'll show you here what I'm doing. Threading a bead onto this right strand, and as I pass it to the center, I want it to fit inside this braid. Just snug it right up in there. And then as I pull from the left, it closes it inside the braid. So I'm holding all of my strands steady as I go here. So again, I'm going to pull, grab a bead here, string it on, and I'm pulling from the right hand side, passing this to the center, and then pulling this bead up snug, and then closing it in with my left strand. Now we're just going to keep doing that. I like to do 7 beads. First of all, visually, it's a nice length of bead to have. It's a nice, colored part of the bracelet. So again, passing it to the center, sliding this to the middle, passing this to the middle, and then pulling this bead up to the braid so that it's nice and snug. And then from the left side here, closing it off, and then keep going. But some people will also say too, the reason for 7 is that you've got 7 blessings, 7 days of the week. It just depends on how into it you get. But again, pulling the right one to the center, putting bead on, closing it in with that left side. You can totally do this on the opposite way too, but you're only going to be feeding your beads on just the one side. So you're not going to be pulling from the right and the left. You can do the right or the left, but not both. And just make sure that this goes to the center before that bead gets in here. Now if you're having issues with it, you can always thread the beads on last. I'm pretty used to this. It's easy for me to hold my work as I work. But if you're having any difficulty, you know, you can always braid it first and then put the bead on. Just kind of like that. Slide that bead on like that. But once we get past these beads, it finishes up so fast. So this is a nice, quick jewelry craft. Kind of like friendship bracelets, only instant gratification. So there's my 7 beads that I have. Now from this point, I'm going to just go ahead and move this up, just so you can see what I'm doing. From this point, you just continue braiding. Now if you have this happens every once in a while. This bead has popped out. Before you keep braiding, you want to just rearrange it and make sure that's in there, because when we braid this off, it will help everything to stay nice and flat, nice and snug. So if you're having trouble with that, don't worry, it's totally normal. Just put it back in place before you move on. So then you just want to braid down another 2.5 inches. And then when you get to the end here, we want to do another overhand knot. Just tuck those tails in and make that nice and snug right there at the end of that braiding. And just pull these nice and tight. So you've got these tails that you'll be able to tie it on. Now, the reason why they call these wish bracelets is, you know, you'll notice we didn't actually put a clasp or a closure on. These are meant to be tied on. And because it's hemp, eventually these cords will wear out. And the way that the saying goes, whether you believe this or not, that's up to you. But the saying is, when you tie it on, make a wish. So as you tie it on your wrist, you make a wish. And when the cords wear out and the beads fall off, that is when your wish comes true.